to participate in the processes of the debates by means of clapping hands or taking photos. You become excited, you just smile, you can't clap, unfortunately. Those are the rules. Having said that, I will now ask the secretary to read the order.
Debate on vote number 24, Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Appropriation Bill.
I will now invite the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Forestry and Fisheries, Honorable Zokwani, to open the debate.
Honorable House Chair, Honorable Ministers present, Honorable Deputy Ministers Fiso Buthelezi and other Deputy Ministers, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, MECs of Agriculture, members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I greet you all and I'm honored to be afforded this opportunity to present the budget vote for Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. Honorable members, 2018 has been declared the year of Babu Nelson, Rolihlahla Mandela, and Mama Nontsikelelo Albertina Sisulu, who would have celebrated 100 years. As we commemorate these great stalwarts of our liberation, let us also remember those we have lost and may their spirit of sacrifice and service continue to inspire all that we are and all that we do. Honorable members, last year when I presented the budget vote, the country's economic growth expectation was bleak following the credit downgrade by 2 rating agencies. Despite the fact that our sector's allocated budget was only 6.8 billion, 1% lower than the current year, it is worth noting that the sector has managed to achieve positive growth, pulling South Africa out of a technical recession. South African economy grew by 1.3% in 2017, exceeding the National Treasury's expectation of 1% growth announced during the national budget speech in February last year. The strengthening in economic activity in 2017 was partly driven by agriculture, forest and fisheries sectors, recovering from one of the worst droughts in recent years. The sector's contribution to the GDP was 2.4 in 2017. The sectors have expanded for 4 consecutive quarters. The growth in the industry is attributed to the increase in the production of field crops, horticulture, animal products. We remain concerned over the impact of the ongoing drought affecting deciduous fruit, citrus, and grape and wheat farming in the Western Cape. The total volume of South African agriculture production for 2017 was estimated at 62.9 million tons compared to 50.8 million tons in 2016. This represented a 24% increase in production, which is attributed to the bumper summer crop harvest following good rains during the season. To address the call by the President for an ambitious investment drive alongside implementation of necessary economic reforms, our response is as follows, Chairperson. In South Africa, higher levels of agricultural productivity can be realized through substantial investments in agricultural research and development that also promotes equitable growth in the sector. In order to reform the agricultural sector, which is in the hands of the few, the re-engineering of conditional grants, especially the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program and Ilima Litsema, becomes imperative. I am sounding a clarion call that it can no longer be business as usual. We need to change the manner in which we manage the funds we have in order to achieve inclusive economic growth that is developmental in approach and encompasses the ambitions of the youth of this country and women in particular. As such, these programs will be managed by an entity of the department that is competent in all the pillars that the program seeks to address. The President, in his State of the Nation's address, emphasized the strategic role of the sector by indicating that agriculture has made the largest contribution by secondary margin to improve growth of our economy in the second and third quarters of 2017. Aquaculture is an important growth sector and a priority for the country led by the department. It has demonstrated potential growth over the past 10 years. Our culture offers a significant opportunity to contribute to food security and nutrition, rural development, job creation, and the GDP of the country. There are currently 36 Operation Pakisa aquaculture projects, 26 of which are in production. At least 15 of those projects represent small-scale entities. The total investment committed to Operation Pakisa aquaculture projects is 690 million rands, of which government committed 227 million rands. The total jobs created across Operation Pakisa aquaculture projects 2016-2017 is 1,806 on 26 registered aquaculture farms. A total of 3,500 tons of aquatic animal products was produced from these aquaculture projects. Aquaculture bill presented to Cabinet recently will provide a legislative framework for sector development. It is envisaged that our culture production will increase to 20,000 tons, resulting in additional 2,500 direct jobs and 15,000 jobs in the value chain by 2019, an additional investment of 500 million rands. Further opportunities in the livelihood alternatives in the fishing communities will be created through the continued implementation of the expanded public works program in coastal and rural communities under the Working for Fisheries program. The department aims to create 1,805 full-time jobs under this program. Partnerships with several coastal municipalities and investors have been formed to rehabilitate abandoned fish processing plants in order to process fish for major retailers, which include Woolworths and Wise Foods in the United Kingdom. Beneficiaries of those will be the right holders of the community cooperatives who will eventually own the facility. This is part of the implementation of the small fisheries policy, which is approved by the Cabinet. South Africa has been self-sufficient in most agricultural products, with the exception of wheat, poultry, and red meat. Between 50% and 60% of the country's wheat requirement is imported due to the fact that it is cheaper to import than to produce locally. We must therefore continue to look for solutions to reverse this unbalanced situation. Grains remain an important part of our food and nutrition security initiative. Accordingly, Agricultural Research Council has developed and disseminated at least 7 new grain cultivars for improved yields and productivity in South Africa. We hope our farmers will adopt these cultivars to increase our production of wheat and reduce the country's import bill. This also promotes greater affordability to allow more South Africans to consume bread and other wheat products. Our investment in research and development continue to yield good results for market access. I'm happy to report that in February this year, the ARC launched a new table grape joy bells at the world's largest full fruit exhibition in Berlin. This table grape variety was well received by producers and full traders in the global market. Already, more than 50,000 cartons of Jolly Bells were sold across Europe and the UK. Producers and exporters from South Africa are expecting sales into other world markets. At least 200 hectares and expanding have been planted in South Africa to produce this table grape variety. The President has indicated that agriculture presents one of the greatest opportunities to significantly grow our economy and create jobs. In addressing the developmental challenges in the sector and to achieve policy imperatives of National Development Plan, National Growth Plan, Agricultural Policy Action Plan, revitalization of agriculture and value chains, and land reform, farmer training is crucial. Colleges of agriculture are best suited to offer practical accredited training for farmers, agricultural technicians, producers, processors, and farm managers. Colleges of agriculture are playing a pivotal role in agricultural vocational training and education and training through a 3-year diploma qualification and vocational skills training to farming communities, youth and women. Correctly, elevating those colleges to become a national competency, as it is the case with TVET colleges, will help us ensure that we position them to strategically respond to agricultural skills shortages and challenges in more comprehensive and uniform manner in their management. On average, each college admits 400 full-time students per college and train 1,000 farmers per annum, and this leads to close to 1,000 potential entrance farmers and over 10,000 skills trainings per year. As government intensifies and accelerates the land distribution program to address historical injustice, for my department, this presents an opportunity to bring more producers into the agricultural sector in order that the aspirations of our people may be realized. We need to be at the forefront of ensuring that we impact relevant vocational skills and formalize indigenous knowledge systems, which is part of our heritage, have been passed on generation to generation. This year, my department will be placing 1,000 unemployed agricultural graduates within the sector across the 9 provinces on a 2-year internship program, training them to be future agri-entrepreneurs. This initiative will contribute in addressing the unemployment challenge in the sector. In support of the sector skills development and transformation, the Agri-BE Fisheries Transformation Council will champion this initiative. Chairperson, I would like to acknowledge efforts by some of the transformed progressive companies in the private sector that endeavor to work with the department in achieving transformation in the fishing industry. On this note, I would like to announce that Sea Harvest, Brimstone, and Masizane Fund of Old Mutual have committed to the establishment of a 100 million rands fisheries development fund, which will be formally launched soon. The objective of this development fund, honorable members, is to ensure that we empower small businesses and entering the fishing industry in order to truly revitalize the ocean's economy. In addition, I would like to acknowledge the commitment and willingness of the mining sector to support the department's efforts to improve livelihoods in their communities. Today, present with us from my constituency in Groblersdal in Limpopo is Mr. Teledi from Mashiane Primary School, Ms. Ngwasheng from Makubiane Secondary School, who are the beneficiaries of the first tranche of commitment of 1 million rands towards community gardens, infrastructure, and uniform for students. May I extend that a further donation was made to a school in Mpongwin, where female students were given a year allocation of sanitary towels and other amenities. So as government, in partnership with private sector, I wish to encourage the private sector, particularly the rural industry, to work together in partnership with government in achieving a better life for all. Government has invested considerably in agriculture to create a favorable and supporting environment for the farming community, particularly subsistence and smallholder producers. This includes the support provided by development financial institutions. However, the support has not translated into meaningful participation of the black producers in agriculture, forest, and fisheries value chains. This program that focus should be given not only to support smallholder production, but to increase the number of black commercial producers. Therefore, the Department of Agriculture, Forest and Fisheries, with the assistance of the DTI, the Land Bank, the National Empowerment Fund, and the IDC, developed a program to commercialize black producers in the agriculture, forest, and fisheries sectors. This is an incentive-based program to provide access for small, medium, and large-scale black producers in these sectors. The Land Bank has been identified as the grant fund administrator, but together with the commercial banks will provide the loan portion of the funds required to commercialize those producers. For small-scale producers that have a turnover of less than 500,000 rands per annum, the development support will remain of the provincial departments of agriculture in partnership with the commodity associations. The department continues to support livestock farmers to develop and improve their livestock through dedicated programs in collaboration with the ARC. One such program is Honofatso ya Dikgomo, an animal improvement scheme dedicated to the development and improvement of livestock breeding and production among black farmers. Many participants in this scheme have benefited through better quality animals as a result of integrating science with production systems, which in turn has enabled the farmers to get better prices at market for their animals. South Africa's significant exports industry increased to 127.8 billion rands in 2017 from 112 billion in 2016, boosted by growth in edible fruits, beverages, spirits, as well as prepared fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Imports of agricultural products increased by 21% in 2016 from 76 billion in 2015 to 91.8 billion in 2015. The import value of agricultural products decreased by 5% to 86.9 billion in 2017, led by processed products such as prepared foods, meats, sugar, and beverages. South African agricultural products continue to benefit from the tripartite free trade area agreement of the Southern African Development Community, common market for the Eastern and Southern Africa and East African Community. The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations has defined climate-smart agriculture as a production system that sustainable increase productivity, resilience, reduce greenhouse gases, and enhances achievement of national food security and development goals. Climate-smart agriculture is part of South African national flagship programs being implemented through proven practical techniques rolled out through existing departmental programs, which promotes sustainable agriculture on a principle of minimum or zero tillage. The outbreak of the listeriosis has led to a decline in the prices of pork in the market, and these prices are lower than the input cost margins for the producers. This decline in prices has the potential to also affect the red meat and poultry sectors. In addressing the listeriosis matter, I visited the Tiger Brands facility in Polokwane in March this year and have noted the plan of action devised to address the outbreak. And I would like to say that most exposed to this process have been the small-scale piggery farmers who could not sustain a farming in this environment. I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate DAF entities for their tireless work in advancing research and innovation to develop new vaccines that will address a number of diseases, including new strains. During the current financial year, we intend to strengthen our biosecurity measures in order to increase our competitiveness as we seek to find new markets. Fighting illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing is one of the priorities of the department. Fisheries crime is not just a national challenge, but it is also a global scourge that undermines the government's poverty eradication efforts. The fact that fisheries crime is largely transnational in nature raises the need for organized global communities to work together in addressing illegal fishing. South Africa is a member of Interpol, and consequently, my department is an active member of the Interpol Fisheries Crime Working Group, whose fundamental objective is to enhance collaborative efforts for the purpose of combating fisheries crime, which includes poaching of abalone and other marine resources. May I say that even yesterday morning, there was a break-in in one of our facilities, and about 7 tons of abalone was stolen. Therefore, I believe as a department, we need to find a way. We can not only be alarmed, but we need people to work together.
2 minutes.
We need communities to work together. Honorable Chairperson, international fish crime is a global challenge and goes beyond national jurisdictions and multidisciplinary nature. Africa's coastline spans over 400 kilometers, presenting a opportunity for more work to be done. Honorable members, let me say today, the only honorable member who has given a very informative way and approach has been none other than Honorable Van Dalem. Your views are appreciated. Together, I believe, we'll not be feeling ashamed. We'll be able to say, are we having the capacity to house abalone that is fished illegally in the ocean? Or must we find a partnership with the private sector to make sure that nobody might? Yes, I agree with you, sir, that communities can assist in doing that.
Order.
Therefore, we need to come up, not to shout at this platform, but I
Order.
need your views.
Honorable
I'm making for a
Paulsen,
day
you're gonna
when
have
we
your
get that.
time to
I would
speak.
like to share some words
Honorable
of
member.
wisdom from Miss Brenda Scoop. And I quote, my grandfather used to say that once in your life you need a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, and a preacher. But every day, 3 times a day, you need a farmer. And farming is very critical. Farmers should work hard to improve the productivity of our economy. And I will never, therefore, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Paulsen, you can't scream like that. You have your opportunity to speak on the podium. Please, you will have your time to speak on the podium. Let's not do that to members. Seboledi se se latelang ke modulasetulo wa committee, Motlhomphegi Semenya.
Honorable Chair, it is my honor and privilege for me to present the budget vote during the centenary of our 2 gallant fighters, Mercy Sulu and Tata Mandela. The African National Congress has correctly identified agriculture, forestry, and fisheries sector as a strategic productive sectors of our economy that this term of government should focus on. Agriculture delivers more jobs per rand invested than any other productive sector. It is important for this House to note that strategic location of agricultural sector within the broader economy in order to deal with the challenges of job creation, poverty, inequality, and reduction. It is important to reiterate the call from the President of the Republic of South Africa, Tate Ramaphosa, when he states, I quote, an equal society is in the interest of all South Africans, whatever their race, gender, and social status. Drawing on the wisdom of Madiba and led by his example, we shall focus all our efforts on improving the lives of all South Africans, especially the poor, in guiding how poor farmers and fisheries are funded. The department is well on its way to a comprehensive policy framework to harmonize and guide and regulate the provision of the support service to the various categories of producers. The national policy on comprehensive producer support recognizes that in order to develop agriculture, forestry, and fishery sector, there is a need to strong public-private partnership. The public-private will focus on providing services and support, mainly to smallholder producers, while creating a conducive environment for the commercial sector to thrive and be competitive. The committee is of the view that existing funding mechanism has not taken board on the needs of fisheries and forestry sector, and this must be addressed through this policy instrument. The work undertaken by the department, together with other departments, is driving the strategic direction of the sector is much welcome. It is through the outputs from Ocean Economy Pakisa and Operation Pakisa for Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development that synergies on resources allocation can be leveraged. The committee noted the continued efforts from the department to have the fishing rights allocated to small-scale fishery during the current financial year. Notwithstanding this commitment, there were matters that needed elaborate efforts on the part of the department. One of the pressing needs that need to be addressed are the support package to small-scale fishery cooperatives and finalization of the fish basket. It is important that the Minister finalizes the establishment of the Fishing Transformation Council in line with Marine Living Resource Act as fronting has been seen to take up sophisticated mechanism that seeks to thwart the transformation agenda of government. The ANC-led government is committed to confront together and the lack of broad-based economic participation and the social marginalization of millions of poor and less-than people. The impetus that the three sectors provide for economic growth is evident from the recent report released by Statistics South Africa. Agriculture made the largest contribution by a significant margin to the improved growth of our economy in the second and the third quarter of 2017. Most recently, according to the third production forecast recently released by the National Crop Estimate Committee, most summer crop production estimates were revised up from the previous level. It is within this context that the department aimed to create and support 450 sustainable and profitable black commercial producers participating in a prioritized value chain over a 5-year period through the reprioritization of funds from the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program grants. The Portfolio Committee is determined to ensure the involvement of youth, women, and the people with disability in the commercialization program. Moreover, the support provided to farmers should be all-encompassing, the dealing with the market constraint relating to the structure of the market. Given the history of our country, there tends to be an asymmetry in the relation between the farmers and the market intermediaries. To this end, the Portfolio Committee calls on the department to assess the entire value chain and address the anti-competitive market structure that exists in the sector. There has been an emergence of new plant and animal diseases in the recent years. While technological innovation have sought to improve on farm production and as well as reduce post-harvest losses, though the department conducted routine plant and animal disease risk surveillance, there has been an increase in the number and the severity of outbreaks in the recent year. This could be attributed to the increase in volume on plant and animal product via global trade, with even more unexpected diseases occurrences due to climate change impact. Another critical disease in the poultry sector has tested the resilience of our farmers is avian flu H5N8. The avian flu influenza in 2017-18 is also a case in point on the changing climate patterns that drive the emergence or re-emergence of the plant and animal pest. South Africa recorded 87 cases of highly pathogenic avian influenza diseases outbreaks, with an additional 89 cases of low pathogenic avian influenza diseases outbreak in 2017. Most recently, the fatal and tragic listeriosis outbreak has served as a clarion call for government to bolster its sanitary surveillance and control mechanism throughout the agro-food complex. To this end, DAF has begun a process of strengthening and bolstering the biosecurity capacity at all our ports of entry. The department has set aside 70 million towards improving the biosecurity element of all the land borders, airports, and seaports. Livestock production in South Africa is a fundamental element of socio-economic development and a contributor to food security and good quality protein, and that veterinarian services have the key role in protecting this important industry. The Portfolio Committee note and welcome the plans underway to transform the country's veterinary services. The veterinary services play a key role in ensuring that sanitary requirements for livestock production, health, and trade are properly adhered to, and that food and other products produced from animals are safe to use. The new veterinary strategy specifically aimed to improve the technical abilities to address current and new animal health, welfare and production issues based on scientific principle, acquire sufficient financial capital to attract sufficient human resource and retain professionals with technical leadership skills, promote and strengthen collaboration and partnership between government and non-governmental sector, and create and maintain the enabling animal and public health environment to be able to access local and international market. Further to this, the Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries has led the charge towards the establishment of the country's second veterinary science school at Fort Hare. The Alice campus is ready to host the establishment of veterinary science school within its re-owned Faculty of Agriculture. The Alice campus has an impeccable track record of producing agricultural scientists of note. The proposed veterinary science faculty will partner with the medical schools in around Eastern Cape and elsewhere to provide the combined intensive training in the new concept of One Health to its graduates, to those of other medical schools. The Portfolio Committee encourages the department to speed up the process of revamping the infrastructure, security, and management of our fishing harbors. The department is encouraged to work closely with the public works and various law enforcement agencies to root out all crimes and security at all existing fishing harbors and stimulate local economic development. The fishery sector has been particularly hard hit by the scourge of organized crime syndicate that poach our marine resources to the detriment of our coastal communities. The progress that is being made of removing sunken vessels, coordinating plans, and securing funds to complete the project in reassuring our fishing harbors will soon be great service to our surrounding communities. In our support for budget vote 24, the Portfolio Committee reiterates that the department should clearly align its service delivery target to be geared towards high-impact projects that ultimately will drive economic growth, job creation, ensure food security. The Portfolio Committee wants to emphasize the importance of well-coordinated government intervention in supporting all various categories of farmers. In previous years, the Portfolio Committee has noted with great concern the overlack of adequate monitoring and evaluation mechanism over the disbursement of funds and implementation of projects funded through conditional grants allocation to provinces. The department has also acknowledged the challenges posed by the lack of verifiable and reliable data as provided by provincial departments of agriculture. The Portfolio Committee therefore urged the department to develop a clear monitoring and evaluation framework that has clear time frame for implementation in this financial year. We also wish to commend the Perishable Export Control Board for its continued good work as they have continued to ensure that our farmers' fresh produce is good for good export quality in a highly competitive global trading regime. This should serve as a marching order for the department as mandated by the policies of the African National Congress that seeks to restore the confidence of the South African people in a shared vision for radical social and economic transformation. The Agricultural Research Council is also allocated 899.3 million under current expenditure and a further 131.7 million under capital expenditure. The ARC has faced significant budget cuts over the past few years, and as such, it is precarious financial position,
2 minutes to
agriculture,
wrap up.
research, that sector to drive technology development and innovation is crucial to the sector as the new challenges arises from changing agroclimate condition As we conclude, Chair, the Portfolio Committee want to emphasize the importance of agriculture, forestry and fishery sector in the South African economy. We surely believe that through the increase of budget allocation of this department and the hard work of farmers across the land, we will indeed feed South Africa and make our trading partners. I thank you. Malibongwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Seminya. Akhbara Lidstein, for the debate forentum.
Chairperson, the right to access to food is a constitutional right entrenched in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of South Africa. Food security as well as food safety must be the focus of the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. The White Paper on Agriculture, published in 1995, recognizes the contribution of agriculture in the improvement of income, food security, employment, and the quality of life, and emphasizes the requirements that the state must take reasonable and other measures to ensure that available resources to achieve realization of these rights. We cannot discuss agriculture without placing it in the context of land reform in South Africa. The same white paper also states that the need for a multidimensional view to enhance households and national food security. It identifies land reform as a way to ensure that more households will be able to continually access enough food. The Democratic Alliance fully supports and agrees with the sentiments used as a basis to measure whether we have made progress with regards to agricultural role in food security. Earlier this year, the Portfolio Committee met with Stats SA to get a better understanding of the current state of agriculture and food insecurity. It must be acknowledged that access to food has been improving and that the incidence of hunger has been declining. But this is mainly due to school nutritional schemes and a massive increase in grant beneficiaries. According to Stats SA's General Household Survey, 26.4% of persons have inadequate or severely inadequate access to food. The number for agricultural households decreased from 19.1% or 600,000 households from 2.9 million to 2.3 million people which are currently busy with agriculture. 43.7% of households use agriculture as a main source of food. What makes it difficult to measure progress in the agricultural sector is that there is no comprehensive farmer register which could be used to support farmers and act as a sampling frame to conduct agricultural surveys. The lack of a database is one of the main reasons why the Northwest Province could buy cattle to deliver to Nkandla, and 6 Range Rovers could be bought as agricultural implements under your watch, Minister. The Vrede Dairy Farm is a well-documented example of how the system gets manipulated. A list of beneficiary names was only added after questions around Vrede farming operations has been asked. It is widely known that agricultural support is mainly targeted at helping those connected cadres. With the 43% of farmers that use agriculture as a main resource of income and is mainly left to fend for themselves. We have visited Guachu farms about a month ago in the Eastern Cape, Minister, not far from where you live. 88 farms have been transferred to those farmers in the old regime. They have not had a single person from agriculture coming to assist them there. I'm going to ask you written questions about Guachu Farm, Minister. Although the National Development Plan makes reference to a number of steps that will improve food security, including the expanded use of irrigation, security of land tenure, especially for women, and the promotion of nutrition education, it is unbelievable that government is still without a food and nutrition security plan, even after Cabinet approved the National Integrated Food Security Strategy in 2002. I do not believe that that policy will ever see the light of day. The current version even says secret on its cover. Not only do food producers have to deal with safety and security on farms, but issues of climate change and pest and diseases needs constant innovation and adjustment. Pests like fall armyworm, tomato leaf miner, oriental fruit fly, and banana bunchy top disease is very destructive pests in the areas which it occurs and can put food security at risk. It is a great concern that DAFF is still not budgeting for disasters and must take from other food production budgets when these diseases strike. Farmers are mostly left to fend for themselves in these difficult times. The department still doesn't have a budget for drought relief or even a drought management plan in place. The impact of avian influenza can still be felt by consumers, especially the price of eggs that has increased by 20%. The recent outbreak of Listeriosis, Minister, I'm glad you spoke about that, has had a crippling effect on many industries, but none so dramatic as the pork industry, where losses are estimated at over 1 billion rand. While large-scale farmers and manufacturers might survive disasters like this, there is little protection for smaller producers. The government has failed both in the protection of consumers and protecting the jobs in the agricultural sector. Minister, I've read in the newspapers, and I'm not always believing what I see in the newspapers, but in this case I kind of agree with him. According to media reports, South African fresh produce is still banned in Rwanda after the Listeria outbreak because DAFF is driving its feet on paperwork. So I would like to find out if that's true, and there might be other countries. I'm also glad, Minister, to learn that you visited enterprises, but what is the plan? We cannot still have people today think they cannot eat processed food in South Africa because there's something wrong. For agriculture to take its rightful place in the economy, we must introduce a single funding model. I have proposed this in the committee in 2019, 2015 already, Chairperson. We can look at the Western Cape government. It has embraced the land reform model that works. With the rest of the country on a 90% failure rate for land reform, the Western Cape government is on a 62% success rate, according to an independent study. The current commodity approach, where farmers form part of a training, mentorship, and marketing program, is bearing fruit. The Western Cape government has also leveraged over 80 million rand per year from the private sector to support emerging farmers. The Democratic Alliance applauds the work.
Honourable members, order.
Yes, that's correct. The Democratic Alliance applauds the work that the commodity organizations is doing in order to transform the agricultural sector. It has been reported that more than 108,000 farmers were already assisted with a budget of only 331 million rand. Minister, I wonder what could have been done with the 2 billion rand for the agri-parks if we use that to transform the sector. I'm telling you today, agri-parks will become a white elephant, like many other programs that the department has taken on, because there is not a proper plan to put that in place. Some of the programs that the commodity organizations have taken on has gained great support. One of the things that I've been visiting was Grain SA and the development program, and I've seen the results. Under these programs, where grain farmers were assisted, their yields improved from 3 tons a hectare to 9 tons a hectare in certain areas. And it's only with training and assistance that could happen. This is making a massive difference in a farmer's life, and not only can they feed their family, but some extra money is left to improve the conditions of life. The Democratic Alliance believes in freedom, fairness, opportunity, and diversity. Just imagine what could happen if total change could deliver one South Africa for all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Steyn. Honourable Paulse does know is a date.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and a Ramadan Kareem to our Muslim brothers and sisters who will be embarking on a month-long fast tomorrow. Honorable Chairperson, our agricultural industry has failed to realize its true potential since 1994. This is so because of a number of factors, chief amongst which is the failure of government to regulate this industry for transformation. And now to top it all, we hear that this department has a new competency to hand out sanitary towels. So if you have taken that competency, so why don't we get rid of Batabeli Dlamini? Minister, a better thing to do, Minister, is to focus on developing urban agriculture. You spoke about smart agriculture. Now, if you were to have urban agriculture, you would have food close to where it's being consumed. It would cut down on the carbon footprint that comes with transporting food for hundreds of kilometers. This industry is the most constricted of the industries we have in this country, where few commercial farmers and agro-processing companies control the entire agrarian value chain. This starts at the level of control of the seed industry. The control of the seed industry is in the hands of Pannar and Monsanto, who control about 90% of the commercial seed market in this country, giving them the power to a large degree to determine seed access, type, and cost in this country. At the farm level, we have seen a reduction in the number of farms from 60,000 in 1993 to just about 35,000 today. There's not less farms. This is as a result of consolidation by those who have more money and who can compete at a global level without government support and subsidies. Only 20% of these farms produce 80% of the food we have as a nation, while the rest, including our communal farmers, produce less than 20% of the food we produce as a nation. It does not end there, Chairperson. The former cooperatives, such as Senves, NWK, and AFGRI, control 75% of the maize storage and handling capacity, while Tiger Brands, Premier Foods, control 60% of the milling of white maize and 90% of the milling of wheat. This is just to show that we have been bombarded over the past while with the myth of an extremely efficient agricultural sector which can operate on its own without intervention of the state. What this shows, Minister Zokwana, is that when you're done with trying to bribe fishing monopolies, you ought to influence your government to significantly transform this industry. And that is why those same fishing companies have bribed Jacob Zuma to keep you on as a minister. 1 million rand. You are worth 1 million rand. I'll pay Cyril 10 rand to get rid of you. And it's a bargain. What this also shows is that if land expropriation without compensation does not at the same time focus on subdividing large consolidated farms, redistribute these farms to farm workers and small-scale farmers, it will not be worth all the struggle that we are engaging in. It must, in essence, disrupt the monopolization of the agricultural sector by a few people who benefited from all the support given to them by the state pre-1994, and decongest the industry to ensure that as many people as possible who can produce do in fact get to produce our food. This new vision for agrarian transformation must also entail opening up markets for small-scale producers and the provision of input support to these producers by the state.
1 minute.
Including the provision of extension services, seed and fertilizers, and trade protection from unfair competition outside this country. You spoke about 1,805 jobs that you will create with aquaculture. 60,000 small-scale fishers along the coast of South Africa are left without a livelihood. Minister, we must not pat ourselves on the back for 1,805 jobs. This is the mediocrity that we've come to be accustomed to, coming from the ANC. We therefore have no choice but to reject this budget vote for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Isikhulumi esilandelayo umhlonishwa inkosi Cebekhulu.
Thank you, House Chair. The Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries is mandated with a task to see to it that the the nation is fed. We should export surplus food to other countries and in that way contribute significantly to the economic growth and growth of the country. Food safety and security are the priority. We have seen a decline in food production that as a result, we rely on imported food like beef, chicken, and grain. South Africa has become a dumping site for countries whose governments are subsidizing their farmers. The scope or scale of competition has downscaled our farmers. The spread of diseases in beef and chicken is a challenge badly affecting production and supply of food. Foot and mouth disease on our cattle, and avian flu in our beds are a case in point. In recent times, we've seen armyworms attacking the crops in the farms. The department needs to have more inspectors to deal with proper control of imported food to quell cheap and unsafe products being administered, which pose the risk of spreading diseases to the consumers. There is fertile land in communal areas with fields unproductive. People do not have proper equipment to work that land. The department once attempted to provide mechanization, but because of the lack of coordination between the provincial department and the national department, that assistance lost fuel. Tractors that were provided as means to aid this situation are now unaccounted for. In this case, it is important that movable property belonging to the state should be audited, and those entrusted with its administration made to account in the event that it goes missing. Poverty and hunger is what the majority of our society is living under. It is only through agriculture that people can be emancipated from this way of life. Extension officers should by now be deployed at state farms, work and produce instead of leasing those farms to individuals who do partake in any farming. The department should be going out to rural communities to encourage them to work the land as groups or cooperatives, assist in fencing grazing land for livestock. I would also like to acknowledge the commitment and contribution by OBP in developing vaccines for fighting animal diseases, yet get no budget allocation from the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. Having acknowledged their contribution, but the task is huge when one looks at the report of avian flu and foot and mouth diseases, which result in our beef and poultry products being barred from exporting. Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe, ngiyayisupporta kunjalo. Kodwa ngifuna ukusho lokhu. Mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe, zolo lokhu sizwe isekela Ngqongqoshe emnyangweni wezomhlaba nokuthuthukiswa kwawo limemezela indaba yogandaganda abawu-62 abanikelelwe iprovince yase-Eastern Cape. Umbuzo-ke nomuntu angafisa ukuthi ulandeleke ukuthi kube khona ukuxhumana phakathi komnyango wezolimo nowezemhlaba ukubheka ukuthi egcineni labo gandaganda siqonde ukuthi banikezwe ama-smallholder farmers, subsistence farmers or abasebenzi bomphakathi nje abasebenza amasimu abo. Siyokujabulela uma bekoba ukuthi nalaba abazi ukulahleka njengoba balahleka baqala. Siyathokoza.
Sithokoze Nkosi. Honorable Mncwabe from the NFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, distinguished guests. Agriculture is a pillar of the livelihood of many African nations, and it has been so from the time of our forefathers to this day. When we read the Bible, the book of Genesis 41, verse 53 to 54, it says, Honorable Nzimande, at some stage there was a great famine in the world. And the whole, Bible, the only country or the continent that could provide food for the world was Africa. And that duty was executed successfully. This in its own means that agriculture is a backbone of the African continent. Honorable Chairperson, we all know We all know, Chairperson, that some portion of the land in this country is under the control of the traditional leaders, and the main source of living there is agriculture. The NFP therefore urges the department to continue working together with our traditional leaders to capacitate and develop the emerging farmers in rural areas. We believe that this might reduce the number of rural population who are moving to cities for a better life and job opportunities. Another crucial task for this department is to create jobs within the farming sector. It is a fact that farming is a learned skill. Therefore, people need to be employed within the sector so that they could gain the skills and capacity to start their own farms, especially in this time when the country is moving quickly towards the land revolution. Now that almost all political parties in this House are unanimous on that the land must be expropriated without compensation, skilling our people on farming must be a priority for this department. Honorable Chairperson, the land question has been made a forbidden fruit for a very long time in our country. Now that we are ready and prepared to grab this fruit, cut it into pieces and distribute it to our people, we urge our people as well to be ready to work the land, produce from the land, and make the land another source of their better life. We are therefore expecting this department, the Honorable Minister, to lead in capacitating and developing our people in this regard. Honorable Chair, the NFP welcomes this budget. We hope and believe that it will be used in a manner that creates jobs in the farming sector, in a manner that develops rural areas to a level that everyone there enjoys life and see no need to move to the already overcrowded cities of our country. The NFP Minister supports your budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mwabe. We now invite the Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries to
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister Senzeni Zokwane and other ministers present here, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Forest and Fisheries, MECs of Agriculture, members of Parliament, Director General DAF and HODs, leaders of our agencies and sister organizations, farmer organizations and broader farming community, fellow South Africans, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking those people who have made it possible for me to be part of this debate today. Allow me to thank the Minister Zokwana for his leadership. Also, Honorable Chairperson, Ms. Rosina Semenya and the Portfolio Committee for the progressive oversight role that they play. I take this opportunity to thank the Director General, Mr. Mike Mengana and Mlengana, and the whole DAF family. Thank my whole family for the 24/7 support they give me. My wife Tandega is here today. This being a year in which we celebrate the centenary of the birth of Mama Nontsigelelo Albertina Sisulu, the fearless stalwart of our revolution and that of the former president of the African National Congress, the former commander of Umkhonto weSizwe, and the first president of a democratic South Africa, Dr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. It is thus befitting, honorable members, to quote Madiba. I quote, "The success of the Reconstruction and Development Program requires a partnership among all social structures. Few other sectors can be as crucial in this as the agricultural industry," unquote. He continues to say, quote, "For it is on your shoulders that the food security of the nation rests. It is on your efforts that a great part of the manufacturing industry lies for its raw material," unquote. He could have continued to say, I quote, "For it is in your shoulders that the economy of the nation rests," unquote. This was indeed prophetic. It is now common cause that when agriculture was not performing because of drought, GDP slowed down, leading to the negative growth in the last quarter of 2016. Similarly, we now know that it was the very same sector which pulled the economy by its bootstraps. The largest growth in Q3 2017 and Q4 2017 came from this sector. Growth was 44.2% and 37.5% respectively. This contributed to 0.9 of a percentage point to GDP growth, leading to 1.3 growth of GDP. The centrality of agriculture in our economy cannot be overemphasized. Abantu abamnyama bafuna umhlaba wabo. As the president of South Africa said recently, I quote him, "This has been at the core of our struggle," unquote. Let it be accepted that without the finalization of this matter, we cannot speak of equity. The high levels of inequality, unemployment, and poverty cannot be solved without the resolution of the land question. In the State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa emphasized that we will deal with this matter with utmost care. He said, I quote, "We are determined that expropriation without compensation should be implemented in a way that increases agricultural production, improves food security, and ensures that the land is returned to those from whom it was taken under colonialism and apartheid," unquote. Ostrich approach to this challenge is neither desirable nor viable. As we say, I quote, "Akukho soka ladla kahle imbangi ikhala." Former President Jacob Zuma aptly captured the challenge when he said, I quote, "If we do not radically change the patterns of land ownership, control, and management in South Africa, we will be creating problems for ourselves in future." Perhaps, Honorable Chair, let me take this opportunity to welcome some of the ex-Robben Islanders who are here with today, who will attest to the fact that not a single day passed on Robben Island without us discussing the land issue. Welcome, comrades. Forestry and natural resources management. Forest products contribute about 34.5 billion to the economy, or about 0.6% of the GDP. Export value increased by 13% from 26 to 29 billion rand. This is underpinned by 1.2 million hectares of well-developed plantation forestry. Like many other sectors of the economy, this is dominated by corporate and commercial owners who own 78.9%, with small growers only owing about 3.7%. The forestry sector is responsible for 158,400 direct employment. That is about 1.3% of South Africa's workforce. The forestry industry is at continuous risk from fire, pests, diseases, and drought. This sector is also facing transformation issues. When government sold its forests through Safcol, 10% was reserved for communities. Unfortunately, in most cases, that has not been translated to them. Also, many big players have struggled to reach 26% shareholding in this industry. The downstream and upstream involvement in the value chain by communities, black people, women, youth, and people living with disabilities is still very minimal. Forestry has also been impacted negatively by drought. This calls for more efficient usage of water. To that end, the department is conducting a study with the Water Research Commission to investigate the existing estimations of land under irrigation and water used by irrigated agriculture. This study will cost 2 million rand, and we hope to publish it by August 2018. In terms of fell fires, the department is currently amending the National Field and Forest Fire Act of 1998. These policy measures and interventions are intended to enhance the resilience of agricultural and food production systems, contribute to the reduction of the greenhouse emissions, intensify agricultural and forestry production while safeguarding food security and creating job opportunities. In an effort to address the issue of competing land use between agriculture and forestry, the department developed a strategy on agroforestry. Agroforestry is a practice that integrates forestry and agriculture on the same piece of land with social, economic, and environmental benefits. Forestry is one of the sectors that have a huge potential in job creation, whilst ensuring the sustainable use of natural resources. Through the expanded public works program in environment and culture sectors, the department has managed to create 720 temporary and 211 permanent jobs. For this financial year, amongst others, 2,284 million rand has been allocated to the department as part of the incentive, where a total of 2,706 work opportunities and 1,353 full-time equivalents will be created. For Upper Week 2018, trees will be planted using trained community-based educators to ensure that departmental programs have economic spin-off for the communities. The department manages 7 state nurseries, and 5 of these in Ulundi, Bloemhof, Mahikeng, Uppington, and Qwaqwa will be revitalized during this financial year. As part of the management of the 60,000 hectares of state plantations, the department will plant 550 hectares. ARC. There is no substitute for research and development. This realization prompted the president of African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, to say, I quote him, Africa has 65% of all the arable land left in the world to feed 9 billion people by 2050. What Africa does with agriculture is not only important for Africa, it will shape the future of food in the world, unquote. South Africa should lead. It is only through proper research that we'll be able to increase productivity, come with disease-resistant plants and animals, and alleviate the impact of climate change. To date, more than 8,800 farmers are participating in the Kanofatso ya Dikgomo program, which is designed to improve the health condition of livestock in rural areas. Through participating in this program, smallholder farmers were able to generate higher incomes. PDAs and RC conducted 5 cattle auction sales involving 410 farmers during the previous financial year, with a high women participation rate of 30%. These auctions generated about 7.8 million rand from sale of 194 head of cattle. We also conducted 2 goat auctions involving 169 farmers with 41% women participation, where 255,000 rand was generated from the sale of 502 goats. In the last 18 months, the RC has identified and provided scientific solutions to farmers for crop pests and diseases such as tomato leaf, minor, fall eye, emiwemi, miraflori lettuce, big vein disease, and false coding moth, among others. Solutions provided have enabled the majority of farmers, commercial and smallholder, to achieve the record yields. Through the use of ARC cultivars, the fruit canning industry provides sustainable income to more than 20,000 direct employees and generates more than 2.5 billion rand per annum. NAMAC. Currently, there are 18 industries that are subjected to statutory measures, collecting 517 million rand through statutory levies. The funds collected used to finance industry-oriented activities, including transformation. One of the approval conditions is that at least 20% of levy income be spent on transformation. NAMAC works directly with 11 industry trusts that were formed during the process of deregulation. To date, the total asset value of trust is 2.4 billion rand from the initial value of 678 million rand. I thank the trustees for growing the asset while financing industry work annually. Monthly, NAMAC provides analysis of food price trends and tracks the cost of a basket of 28 selected basic food items. This transformation is made available to, amongst others, community radio stations. This enables citizens to make informed choices in household spending on food. The transformation in the sector is important. The Competition Commission has raised competition issues in the industry. Barriers to entry for emerging farmers throughout the value chain is an area of concern. Lack of access to market led to some of the produce brought in the fields, like some of the emerging farmers experience in Mkhanyakude, KwaZulu-Natal. Accordingly, Transformation Review Committee was established to, among other things, ensure the statutory levies collected are used by industry to contribute meaningfully to the development of black farmers. Last year, 2,234 animals from 400 farmers went through the custom feedlot program, generating 16.8 million rand. Currently, the program employs 133 people. Just last month, communal livestock farmers in the Majuba district organized an auction which generated 1.4 million rand in sales. The youth agriculture program was launched in 2016. The objective is to promote corporate careers in agriculture and entrepreneurship opportunities. Through this program, NAMAC adopts agricultural high schools, conduct career guidance, offers bursaries to best performing grade 12 learners, and provide internships to graduates at NAMAC and industry organizations where they are assigned mentors. Over 80 learners have gone through the internship program since 2010, and more than 40 bursaries awarded. OBP, that's on-the-spot biological products. This year, OBP will commence building a manufacturing plant which will be completed by 2020 for 347 million rand. This will lead to large-scale production of competitively priced vaccines manufactured under global quality standards, consistent availability of OBP vaccines, and improved response to animal diseases outbreaks, penetration of previously inaccessible markets, and sustainable job creation in the fields of veterinary and biotechnological sciences. It is the objective and target of OBP to improve performance and production efficiencies of current products. We'll also increase the number of new distribution points of OBP products in rural areas to 9. OBP takes priority in advocating for farming skills to alleviate poverty. OBP has implemented 2 learnership programs, Pharmaceutical Sales NQF Level 5 and Animal Production NQ Level 4. The learnership offers youth an opportunity to gain a qualification through a structured learning program. The program has registered 8 learners. The objective of the learnership is to bridge the gap between the current education and training provided and the needs of the labor market. Perishable Product Export Council Control Board. The PECB's Agricultural Export Technologist Program remains one of the entity's flagship development program. It is aimed at attracting and developing young qualified black professionals and upskilling them in matters relating to export of perishable products. Last year, the entity successfully
Wrap up
trained
in 2
35
minutes.
students from designated groups. To date, 296 young people have been trained. Way forward, honorable members, compatriots, and fellow South Africans, for us to realize the potential of this sector in our country, we need to agree and commit to the following, amongst others. 1, sustainable partnerships with a win-win outcome between commercial and emerging farmers. 2, a need of agricultural infrastructure investment. This will allow better productivity, ease of movement of goods and services. Here we must work with DFIs like DBSA, NEF, IDC, Land Bank, etc., to crowd in private sector investment. Focus on peri-urban agriculture using latest technologies will help in ensuring food security. Government will soon be going out with the public procurement bill. This bill will, amongst other things, ensure that government prioritizes transformation of the economy through its spend. We invite all of you to input in the bill when it comes out. Government departments must give preference to emerging farmers and those farmers who embrace transformation. Chairperson, as to what happens to this industry tomorrow is a function of what we, who are players, commit to do today. If we were to achieve these noble and just objectives, I have no doubt we'll have happily achieve the historic mission of being the breadbasket of the world. To honor Mama Sisulu and Tata Madiba in their centenary birthdays, let us all commit to feeding Africa so that no child can go to bed hungry. I thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. As per agreement between UDM and COPE, we will now allow Mr. Madisha to take the podium.
Thank you, Chair. It was the agricultural sector that led us out of our most recent economic recession. And yet, despite its strategic importance to South Africa and its people as a whole, let alone to the socio-economic development and well-being of our rural areas and communities, it is our most maligned and vilified sector. Chairperson, the Honorable Minister, my former president of the mine workers, will agree with me that the handing over of power in 1994 from the apartheid regime to a democratically elected government represented a political settlement and important victory given our country. It is our constitution that set out how we were and are to achieve our socio-economic emancipation. It is a government that has failed to meaningfully give effect to the vision and means to heal the divisions of the past and to create a just and equitable society. I make this point because the high-level panel report is clear, and to quote it, it says, on the issue of land reform is not the constitution that has failed, but the government. Unquote that. I raise this issue in this debate because one cannot talk of, rather to achieve rural development or land reform without reference the important role therein of agriculture. Permit me to emphasize that if government is reconfigured, COPE will suggest that agriculture and rural development and land reform be amalgamated into one coherent department. You see, we have a problem. All the time, I want to emphasize, Madiba did that, and you quote him every minute. Thabo Mbeki did that. We had about 24, 25 ministers. But today, we, South Africa, but today, you talk of a cabinet, to talk of ministers and deputy ministers, you go to beyond 70 people. I want that to be emphasized. And to further say, that how much is spent. It has been checked that 4 billion rand is spent every year, which goes to those people who just move around in hotels with the president with 48 bodyguards and so on. Our people are going down. Cope is clear. Section 25 provides the vision and the means to achieve land reform, and government must stop looking for scapegoats. Admit and failure and back up. The current policy uncertainty regarding land is impacting on confidence within agriculture and harming this important generator of socio-economic growth and development in our rural areas and country as a whole. COPE condemns any crime, violence, and murder, and that includes crimes against farmers, farm workers, or community. When a farming or rural community expresses a concern regarding their safety and security, there is no need for government to be defensive and to attack the messenger. We would prefer to see a responsive government embrace the concern of the community and work with the community to seek a solution. Le ga e le ra se ke fetse, ke a go kwa. Se ke a o dula fase, mara se ke ratang go se bolela ke gore ke lebeletse ba ke ba godisitseng, la e le gore ke ba gekolo ba no ja mamila ga ba kwišiše selo. Ke a leboga.
Honorable Member Filtane. I'm sorry, I'm new in this chair. Honorable Member Vessels.
Dankie, agbare voorsitter. Voorsitter, ek wil hierdie toespraak opdra aan Suid-Afrikaanse landbouers, wit en swart, wat onder baie moeilike omstandighede kos vir die land produseer, werk skep en landelike ekonomie onderhou. Veiligheid is 'n probleem en hierdie landbouers word beskuldig vir al die probleme wat in die land plaasvind. Nie maklike omstandighede om vir voedselsekerheid van die massas verantwoordelik te wees nie. Agricultural decisions, Honourable Chair, must be taken on facts, not be based on political propaganda, statements and myths. We need successful commercial farmers, not farmers who are left to be emerging forever. The majority of developmental programs of government and projects are failures and do not benefit the community, but rather the politically connected and corrupt. The Freda Dairy scandal, which was referred to earlier, is only the tip of the iceberg. Most provinces go about procuring implementing agents in exactly the same way as what the Free State did, and which allowed the money intended for Freda Dairy to end up in Sun City for the Gupta wedding. The provincial department's accounting of transfers to implementing agents is the problem. The accounting hereof has been found by the Auditor General as irregular, but still the practice continues, because the provincial departments only state that an amount has been transferred to the implementing agent without saying what it was intended to procure. There is no asset register. There's nothing to show what was bought with the money for Fredder Dairy, for an example. But this occurs countrywide, Minister, not only in the Free State, and billions of rands that could have been. All projects, Honourable Member, all projects are done in exactly the same way. And that is why this needs to be addressed, because billions of rands are going to waste because of this corrupt practice. And it does not actually go where it is intended to go to develop agriculture in South Africa. 62% of South Africans are urbanized. The majority of South Africans want housing, ownership of their houses, and to participate in a modern economy. They do not want to go back to their peasant ways. In a modern economy and in a global situation where we are, we need successful commercial farmers. We do not need communal farmers and small-scale farmers. Farmers who want to farm should be supported and should be developed. But to make everybody go back to their peasant ways is backward thinking. We need successful commercial farmers who can, at the end of the day, supply food to the rest of South Africa. We need to make decisions based on facts and not, at the end of the day, create a situation where we have food insecurity and where we go the same route as Zimbabwe. I'm glad the Honourable Paulson came back for this in conclusion. Propaganda myths will destroy South Africa. We will go the same way as Venezuela, the same way as Zimbabwe. Honourable Paulson must tell us why Zimbabwe are now asking commercial farmers to come back to Zimbabwe, why it went the way it went. Let us talk about facts. Let us leave the propaganda, the myths, and the ideology.
Your time
is
is expired.
After our people, food security, and at the end of the day, make decisions based on the facts. I thank you.
Honorable Filtana.
Are you ready? I'm going to focus now. Okay, just to clear the air, UDM supports this mega budget. Out of a mega budget of 7.2 billion, this department has allocated a mere 28% thereof for food security. This, in a country with a confirmed 11 million people who are exposed to food insecurity daily. Smallholder farmers are due to benefit from only 162 million rands through the land bank at that. On top of this, they do not have large enough land to make economic sense of their agricultural endeavors. The severe annual budget cuts on the ARC proposed allocation is tantamount to near termination of livestock farming and, by extension, economically speaking, the red meat industry, which is worth billions of rands annually. What a deadly stroke against our already struggling economy. The other effect thereof is that red meat will continue to cost more, making it very difficult for the poor to access it, thus excluding them from the nutritional benefits. Then the Department of Health will have to come to the party. The continued absence of appropriate policies in this department are hindering the efficiency and, by extension, its effectiveness. Add to this the extremely slow pace of processing enabling legislation. Then you have a department that is severely constrained strategically to be able to deal with the challenges of this sector. But the worst part of this pathetic scenario is that there is no strategic support from State South Africa for conducting an inclusive agricultural census, all because this department has yet to come to an agreement with State South Africa. Consequently, most of the planning done is based on speculation rather than an informed baseline. Baseless plans result in poor implementation. To continue with the narrative of poor organization, the synchronized effect of this department's several entities has yet to be seen to benefit the poor. Consequently, the synergistic performance effect of this department is minimized. All of the above point to a department which is very poorly managed. This is the third consecutive year that members of this portfolio committee have indicated their dissatisfaction with the consistently poor management of this department. We annually ask this department to give us an indication of the tonnage of food that would be produced in any 1 year. This information hardly ever comes. I guess this is why Treasury says no point in increasing your budget, Honorable Minister. You do not have a convincing story. A quick survey of agricultural projects in the Eastern Cape revealed that there is only a 10% success rate. You're free to challenge this if you dispute it. In the meantime,
1 minute left.
The ANC administration has taken over 2 years to separate rural development from agriculture. Factoring the use of indigenous knowledge in the mix is most welcome. South African citizens just cannot look up to your department for food security. Most of the food consumed in the Eastern Cape is imported from the adjacent provinces. Please justify your existence by producing tangible results. Otherwise, you're going. South Africa is still waiting for a list of 1,000 beneficiaries from your programs who
Order,
earn 1,000 rands a month, every month, just for 24 months. In the horizontal and vertical value chain,
Time is
where has
expired,
this department
Honorable
made
Member.
any strides in transformation? The answer is 0. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call upon Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair. The message from the ANC NEC that was on the 2018 January statement says, we shall work to rekindle Madiba's vision of a democratic society in which all citizens have equal opportunities to determine their own destiny. We shall achieve this not only through strengthening the instrument of representative and participatory democracy, but also by ensuring that people have economic opportunities and the ability to make choices about their own lives. This message has a particular relevance to today's budget, which is about our people and their economic struggle for a better life from the natural endowment that our country is blessed with. This relates also directly to the ANC's 2014 election manifesto, which laid 5 pillars for us: that we increase investment in agricultural infrastructure, expand food for all program, finalize and implement the agricultural policy action plan, and roll out and expand the aquaculture projects, strengthen agricultural colleges education through skills development. So, on improving on food security, as the policy ANC agreed that food security as a priority area should require further strategic and integrated interventions. The program that emerges from the response to food security is that of Fetsatlala, a program of integrated food production that aims to place 1 million hectares of land under food production. On agricultural transformation and animal production and health, there's a policy on animal identification and traceability that has been developed and approved. 123 veterinarians have been deployed to resource-poor communities. 8,900 hectares of land have been planted. 13,133 households supported, and 10,254 smallholder farmers supported through the National Food and Nutrition Food Security Program over the past year. 255 successful graduates or candidates signed their contracts and were placed in various stations for their training. The national policy on extension and advisory services was implemented. A total of 61 extension support practitioners were deployed to community organizations. The national policy on comprehensive producer development support has been recommended by the intergovernmental structures. I take you to market access and promotions, where 39 agro-processing entrepreneurs have been trained on processing norms and standards. 16 commodity-based cooperatives have been established. 123 cooperatives were supported with farm together training. On smallholder farmer development and support for agrarian transformation, the department's irrigation strategy aimed at increasing the number of hectares under irrigation by smallholder farmers, as proposed in the NDP, is being expanded. Smallholder farmers are supported through various initiatives, including the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program and Ilima Litsima. ANC resolved in its 2014 manifesto that well-trained and well-equipped extension support cadres are critical to the support and success of the smallholder farmers, development of rural villages, and implementation of government policy. Subsequently, the system has been invigorated with retraining of extension officers and integrating of unemployed graduates into the system. On the agricultural policy plan, as resolved in the 53rd National Conference of the ANC in Mangaung, this policy seeks to reduce South Africa's dependence on increasing imports through robust substitute of strategy. The strategy of APAP is to increase production output through investment in farmer support and land acquisition in strategic local areas. Government pays deliberate attention to the industrialization of the sector by taking control of key issues such as mechanization, agricultural inputs, as well as research and development for the development of new cultivars and vaccines. The ownership of knowledge generated by the state research institutions must remain in the hands of the state to advance the development of objectives. Therefore, the state intellectual property will remain consciously protected. There has been significant progress in agriculture, forestry, and natural resources. There is significant progress there with 1,000 hectares that have been planted, 3,000 hectares of state indigenous forests that has been rehabilitated, more than 24,000 hectares of agricultural land that has been rehabilitated. And there has been progress in fisheries, where 9 aquaculture projects were supported through Operation Pakisa. Application forms for abalone fishing rights allocations were assessed by the abalone assessment team. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation has granted permission to the department to proceed with the submission of the Aquaculture Development Bill to Cabinet. Small-scale fisheries cooperative training manual was developed and training provided to communities in Northern Cape and KZN. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, fundamentally and guided by the National Development Plan, we are determined to build an economy that reverses apartheid injustices, an economy in which all South Africans can flourish. Therefore, we, with the understanding that the budget is in line with the resolutions of the 54th National Conference of the ANC, and also in line with addressing the needs of our people, as the ANC, we support this budget. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now call upon Honorable Pifan Dal.
Honorable Chairperson, I would like to dedicate my speech today to the forgotten people of South Africa, our fishermen. Minister, when youth when you think about fishermen, you think about the big companies, and you say you want to transform. When I think about fishermen, I think about the people that go out to sea, that were born into a fisher family and know nothing else than fishing to survive. This is different to the big companies. These are the real fishermen. They are the people that go out to sea at 2 o'clock in the morning and fish to feed the family. They know from experience where the fish are biting, and it's in the early hours of the morning. They have been doing this for centuries. They are the people that now fish don't keep office hours. There are people that know fish don't keep office hours. When you wake up in the morning, they are on their way back home already. I put it to you, Minister, that you and the department have effectively criminalized fishing by not allowing these people to fish early in the morning in order to look after their families. When the DA takes over, I will fight that we will have a boat recapitalization project, so we may replace the old dilapidated and dangerous boats like the taxi recapitalization project with new boats so that they can get to the fishing ground safer and faster. We will also put in place a system to allocate the fishing rights or quotas to the real fishers, not gangsters or people from Gauteng that are hairdressers or well-connected ANC cadres that have never fished. We would bring back the very successful green courts and a specialized unit to deal with poaching. Up to date, the department have turned a blind eye. This blind eye has fueled poaching to the levels they are today. And Minister, I'm glad you have recognized this scourge today. We will open up the tender process to the public for confiscated abalone, and we will ring-fence the proceeds to crime-fighting units and not allow it to be used to supplement the nice-to-haves for the department. The mere fact that this process is secret is the reason why you, Minister, the Deputy Director General for Fisheries, and the corrupt ex-president could be implicated in a kickback scam. There are allegations that the now reinstated Director General was persecuted and fired by you as a direct result of the initiation of the investigation of kickback and corruption. We will also streamline the recreational and other fishing licenses and will issue plastic cards that could be applied for online, thus cutting costs and ensuring better control. We would hand over the management of our fishing harbours to local authorities for the better management and upkeep as the Constitution dictates. We would recognize the skills and abilities of our fishermen in educational institutions, so they may be able to qualify and may be recognized for their skill to be better and safer boatsmen and fishermen. Minister, on behalf of the fishing community, all I ask of you is that they be treated and recognized as equal and honorable fishermen. It is totally within your power to do this by the stroke of your pen. Why have you not done this, Minister? It's not that difficult. Why are you treating them as second-class citizens when you know we are contributing to the economy and food security in our communities and for the country? You know, the previous minister was known as a snollygoster. You are fast becoming known in our fishing communities as a pusillanimous. I thank you.
I now call upon Honorable Member Malloy.
Chairperson, due to limited time, allow me to greet your house from this corner to this corner without mentioning names and titles. Chairperson, in October 2015, the ANC National General Council passed 3 main resolutions that impacts on this debate today, being employment creation and export revenue potential, development of smallholder farms into commercial farming value chain, and the role of agricultural incentive schemes to support key inputs and expanding agro-processing initiatives. Chairperson, our economic policy interventions have moved South Africa decisively towards a more inclusive society, as millions of our people have been brought into the economic mainstream. This journey is ongoing, and much further work is still required to improve the lives of the millions who continue to live in poverty and despair. It is through changing the structure of the South African economy that inclusive growth will become possible. Inclusive growth, Honorable Chairperson, cannot occur if those who are excluded are not given fair access to economic opportunities. Without effective structural intervention, the system will continue to reproduce racialized poverty and inequality. The democratic state is therefore required to make corrective structural interventions, which will not only be growth enhancing, but will also ensure that the pace and pattern of economic growth will move South Africa rapidly towards a non-racial and non-sexist society. It is therefore my considered view that these are the policy imperatives that should inform this debate today. I must hasten to say, Honorable Chair, the ANC is satisfied that this budget vote does, to a large extent, respond to the policy imperatives as outlined earlier on. And as a response to this clarion call, the department is moving forward with the necessary velocity by practically doing the following. One, capacitating producers to develop by creating an ecosystem of growth and self-sufficiency. Fostering progressive careers and improving the work environment by driving human investment and entrepreneurial skills. Facilitating market access by transforming the sector to ensure equity and inclusive economic growth. Changing ownership patterns by supporting management of enterprises and product assets by black communities, workers, cooperatives, etc. Creating sustainable livelihoods and upholding human rights and securing resources for survival and development. We are indeed, Honorable Chair, moving forward. The journey continues, and we are almost there. Honorable Chair, superior argument, which the EFF claims more often than not, must unpack these policy imperatives, identify challenges, and sort ways of resolving them, instead of being entertained by the DA's philosophical orientation to this debate that characterizes the South African society by constructing a problem statement which it raises as a contradiction between our country having attained political freedom on the other hand and lack of economic freedom for the majority of South Africans on the other hand. It then proposes, that is the DA, that the solution to this dilemma is simply the creation of jobs. This I must indicate, Honorable Steyn, is deceptive because it avoids going into the root of the challenges which you yourself are anticipating. This is what I characterize as an inability to think from your part, and secondly, mental laziness. The DA know that an honest analysis of the South African social and economic challenges would force them to acknowledge some of the uncomfortable truths about structural nature of our economy. They are equally in denial when it comes to realities about inequalities in our country due to apartheid colonialism. If the DA policies were to be implemented, they would sustain and deepen the apartheid inequalities. This party, Honorable Chairperson, lacks new and creative ideas. That is why they are rehashing apartheid policies.
Yes,
now, Chairperson, you know those who are claiming that.
Will the honourable member take a question?
Chairperson, I will definitely take questions when I'm done. Yeah, just prepare yourself. Now, Chairperson, The EFF believes that they only have the solution to the challenges of this sector. What they articulate is bereft of every content as to how their proposals work or are likely to work. Honorable Member Paulsen, rhetoric does not run a country, a department, or a credible political party. When the EFF is pressed, Honorable Chair, for details as to how things will work according to their proposals, content is lacking. They are not pronouncing policies and strategies that deal with the realities of the sector.
Order.
My former member of the African National Congress, Honorable Steyn, by merely disagreeing with the ANC, does not create alternative solutions. Your so-called policies have not been tried and tested. At least ANC policies have been tried and tested, and we know what we are talking about. Whilst the president is trying to attract investment, the EFF economic policy, if any, by the way, if you have any, will certainly slow down any growth in the South African economy. I miss an opportunity where you can engage with us on your policies, not on rhetoric, Honorable Paulsen. Chairperson, I can proudly say we have moved to a higher stage of both theory, underpinning agrarian reform and praxis. With the Agricultural Policy Action Plan and the revitalization of agriculture and agro-processing value chain. The journey, like I said, continues, and the ANC will support this budget vote. What Honorable Filtani does not tell this House and the public is that because we are a visionary organization which has deployed visionary leaders in government, a leadership that acknowledges its challenges, we have accepted that for many years we have not had a census. We have accepted that we don't have a farmer register. And it is against that background, Honorable Filtani, that this department has signed a memorandum of understanding with Test South Africa to start phase 1 of this project. I am not sure whether when you sit in meetings, do you listen attentively or do you think about problems at home? So the advice which I might want to give to you is that if you listen and you listen attentively and carefully, you will understand that this department is moving forward and the journey continues. Thank you very much, Chair.
This member must stop misleading the House. This information is in the...
Thank you, Honorable Member Moloi.
Unless that report to the Parliament of South Africa.
I now call upon the Honorable Minister to wrap up the...
Diabulela nam manditsho ndithi amasapho wethu nami inkosikazi yami lapho nolitha zokwana. Dibulele futhi department led by uDG neteam yakhe, and I think bamamele bazivile into ekufuneka zilungisiwe. Ndiye kuDlamini buyele ekhaya phaya eThanga. Ubuza ba ezi zathi zi10 upresident wazisephaya zaphela kubani. Uba ngaba lonto ungayiphendula kuba uyayazi baza yakho bani. Ndisho le ngcango uyikhombayo ingalungiswa. Mandiye apha kwi-EFF. Dreaming is everybody's ability, but dreams don't make programs. So uba uPaulsen makayeke ukwehla ahlale kumuntu ophezulu. Makehleze ebantwini bantethethayo yonke liphupha. Lento bangomso bazawuphatha kodwa linayo isense yoba kuza kwenziwa njani. So ke mina ke ndafundiswa into ethi xa uhamba elalini izinja zokugonkotha sukuma ulwe nazo kuba awuthunywanga kunye nazo. Mandiye, Miss Stein, the letter has been written to Rwanda. We are waiting for their response. Don't take all that the people are saying as true. Mr. Van Dalen, black people are not supposed to be fishing early in the morning. What they should get are fishing rights. I've not seen a black person who say, I want to wake up at 4 o'clock, By the way, we have got a small-scale fishing policy that is dealing with fish allocation. Without those allocations, there's no way that blacks will make money. So please join us in that program. Don't tell us about ukuthi abantu bamnyama bavuke ekuseni bawukhangela inhlanzi ngongathi bona bakwazi uzingela. Please mhlakazi, that policy has not worked. By the way, the National Party even denied us the right to swim. Is worse the right to fish. So I am saying, therefore, as a department, we have decided that we'll never be out to sell any stolen fish or confiscated. We are going to find a system. Ngelisho akafuna umamela. Ngoba already the department, Mr. Arnold Benjis, ufacea ityala esiluwinileyo because ube inhlanzi. Our officials are being dealt with who have been found participating in ways that are going to undermining our policies. So bangabangelisho akawuyi meetings, many years vessel. Ndiqala ukubona namhlanje kule debate. I as a brief attend the portfolio committee meetings. If you do that, I'm sure the issues you are raising could have been answered. Ngelishwa ke apha namhlanje ndicinga into yobana into ebalulekileyo mandibulele amalungu athe le report ayisupporta kuba uba nolunya kuba umbutho olawulayo ingenguwe. Ngelishwa umnumzana ofiltana kamameli itonnage sinikiwe satsho sathi ngenxa yetonnage ephezulu ethe sayifumana ngo-2017 itsho yehla iprice yokutya uzikubuze phendlini kwakho uba ngaba ingxo yombona imali namhlanje uba loo ndawo uzukuyenza uzawumapha uthethe into engekhoyo. Mandibulele kumalungu alendlu athe ayibone into yobana i-department iyaqhuba, i-department iyasebenza. Yes, izifo zikhona ekufuneka sizilile. We have got diseases as well as pests. If we deal with those, I believe that we'll be able to work together. That's why I'm saying, through biosecurity, farmers complying to make sure that if your farm has got an outbreak of avian flu,
1 minute left.
Your employees are obeying the rules, and the companies. The reason why Western Cape had the worst scenario of the outbreak of avian flu should remain a question concerning other provinces. All the day, the DA tells us about how good their policies are. But as we speak today, they are fighting with their own mayor. How do you fight with your mayor? Because you should be knowing what rules you apply. It is the party that seems to know. If you want to know, understand the fact that you must understand, therefore, that as the ruling government, the Northwest is being dealt with. There is a program. We will not go to court to ask court to determine whether the Northwest are members. You want the court to tell you whether Mr. Lily is your member. The court has told you she is your member, work with her, he is your mayor.
Members are reminded that at 4:15, the debate on Office of the Chief Justice and Judicial Administration vote will take place in the National Assembly chamber. The debate on Public Service and Administration budget vote will take place in the Old Assembly chamber, and the debate on Environmental Affairs budget vote will take place in Committee Room E249 that is here. Thank you, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, for your cooperation. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary session will now.
Yeah, you were shouting there. You were shouting.
But you can help clean most. You can't wait for you clean. What about the slips? Yeah, they definitely was there in the hookie.